story time about the guy who pretended to be gay in high school to get closer to all the girls. So it was the first day of my freshman year, and at lunch this guy came and sat with me and my friends. And we were super confused because he was like one of the popular boys. And we were like, oh, why aren't you sitting with your friends? And he's like, oh, because ever since I came out as gay, they don't want to be friends with me anymore, and they're being super mean to me. So we felt really bad, and we started, all 5 of us. So that morning, we all wake up, and he's literally gone. Like, he didn't wake us up to say goodbye, which wasn't normal. So the weekend goes past. Monday, we go to school. And in the morning, my friends and I have time to walk around, and everybody's just staring at us, like for part 3. Part 3 about the guy who pretended to be gay to get closer to all the girls. So, like I said, we got to school and everybody's just looking at us. And all of a sudden, we get tagged in this Instagram account. And there's a video of all 5 of us doing the nasty in my bedroom. There's pictures of me and my friends getting undressed. And there's a screenshot of the FaceTime where we all showed our boobs. And under the post, he was exposing a bunch of shit about us. And my one best friend was literally crying so hard because everybody now knew that she was born with, like, both parts. And also, after gym class, we would just tell him to come in the locker room, and the teacher didn't care because he was gay. So there were also a bunch of pictures of other girls on there, too. I'm not even going to talk about the legal trouble, but my parents made me move schools because they cared about my image, and they didn't want me hanging out with any of those friends anymore. He got expelled. The teacher got fired for that bullshit. So that just ruined having a gay best friend for me. Oh, also, my parents saw me have a threesome in my bedroom. Story time, my gym teacher's wife found out that he was having an affair with me. So a little background information. I was a sophomore in high school, and the one night my friends and I were playing Truth or Dare. Well, a little bit into the game, my friends dared me to download Tinder and message the first 5 guys that I saw. And what do you know, the last guy that I saw on there was my gym teacher. So obviously I messaged him and I was like, hey, OMG, it's blah 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 from your 3rd period class. And obviously I wasn't expecting him to answer, but he did, and he was like, oh, this is weird, how are you? So after that, my friends were like, oh, okay, like it's time to delete it. So I pretended that I did, and when they left, I started messaging him more. So we had been messaging that whole week, and one thing led to another. Next thing I knew, he was sneaking me out of my house at 2 a.m. And he was like 32, so he wasn't that old. Well, for the next month, we were going to restaurants that were like an hour away. Almost every weekend, he would rent out a hotel for us. Well, the one night, his wife was supposed to be out with some friends. So he invited me over, like, for part 2. Part 2 about how my gym teacher's wife found out that he was having an affair with me. So like I said, his wife was supposed to be gone the whole night because she was at the bar with her friends and they were supposed to get in a hotel. So he invited me over. So we went swimming in his pool, then we did the nasty. Well, a few hours later, him and I were sitting on the couch watching a movie. And his wife kept calling him. But he just kept ignoring it, saying that she was fine and he didn't want to answer the call and ruin our time together. So we go upstairs, lay down to go to sleep. And it's like 4 a.m. at this point. So I shit you not, literally an hour later, I wake up to his wife carefully shaking me to wake me up. She goes, honey, come downstairs. I don't want to wake him up. He has work tomorrow. And I'm like, what the actual fuck? So I went downstairs and she's like, sit at the table with me. So we're sitting at the table and she's like, I hope that we can keep this quiet. She was like, my husband's done this before. And that she can't have any of her friends knowing or anybody at school because she's a PTA mom. So she offered me money to keep my mouth shut. And then she let me go back upstairs and lay with him. What the fuck?
Am I the asshole for ruining a pregnancy announcement by telling the woman she may have taken the wrong test? My husband and I recently invited 8 friends for lunch, and we were asked if we could also include a new couple, Doug and Sasha. We have never met them before, but everyone who was invited had, so we said sure. At one point during dinner, Sasha needed to use the restroom, and I told her to use the master suite since the other bathroom was occupied. I was helping my husband in the kitchen when Sasha came out of the room bawling and holding something in her hand. At first, I thought she hurt herself, but she said something to Doug that caused him to drop to his knees, cry, and begin kissing her stomach. All of our friends began screaming, jumping, and crying. It was insane. Finally, Sasha tells my husband and I that she is pregnant. Of course, we congratulate both of them, and then I give them a bag to put the pregnancy test in. I will admit, I did find it odd that she brought a pregnancy test and took it at a complete stranger's house, but I didn't say that out loud. Once everyone sat down to eat, Sasha looked over to me and said, I hope you don't mind that I used one of your pregnancy tests. I just saw them and I had to. Looking at her confused, I responded, I don't have any pregnancy tests. Sasha says yes, in your drawer. I asked Sasha if she meant the blue box in the back of my lower left drawer that was closed. She seemed to realize I was pointing out that she basically snooped around, and she sheepishly said the box said pregnancy for pregnancy tests. I said, Sasha, the brand is Pregmate, and those are ovulation tests. I do not own pregnancy tests. Did you take an ovulation test? Her husband freaked the absolute F out at me and said his wife was not an idiot and can read a box. He insisted Sasha get the test out now and show me that I'm wrong. Sasha refused, saying she didn't need to prove anything to a complete stranger and insisted they leave immediately. One of the couples thought that Doug and Sasha acted completely ridiculous, while the other 3 couples thought I should have pulled Sasha aside to discuss my concerns and said I was the asshole for saying something in front of everyone. Honestly, the whole situation caught me off guard and everything happened so quickly. The whole thing was bizarre and confusing. I just didn't have the time to put the pieces together mentally before asking about the ovulation tests. Also, I found out later through one of my friends that Sasha did take the ovulation test and she is not pregnant.
Story time about the worst day of my life. So a little background information. I was 16 at the time, and I was either in 8th grade or 9th grade, but I really don't remember. And I had this boyfriend who we are going to call Cameron. We had been dating for 3 years, but before him and I got together, we were best friends. Well, I also was in a friend group with myself, Amber, and this girl named Sky. Now, I wouldn't really call Sky a pick-me girl. She was more of a jealous best friend. For example, the one day we went shopping for dresses, and I picked this one out that I really liked and that looked super good on me. Amber was like, OMG, you look so beautiful. And then Sky, she was like, that dress is ugly and it makes you look fat. Well, after that, I told her I didn't care what she said and that I was going to get the dress anyways. Well, she didn't like the fact that I wasn't going to listen to her, so she didn't talk to me for 2 whole weeks. And then after, she texted me saying that she forgives me, even though I didn't apologize, but okay. Well then, me being stupid, I introduced her to my boyfriend. Bad idea, like for part 2. Part 2 about the worst day of my life. So like I said, me being stupid, I introduced her to my boyfriend. Well, after that, Cameron started acting really weird. Like him and I, we would literally hang out with each other 24/7. And now he was always too busy for me and we would only talk at school. And because I was in all the smart classes and stuff, I would go over to his house to tutor him. Because, you know, I was like the one who was winning every single fucking award for being smart. Well, I came over on the day that I would usually tutor him. And when I went over there, his mom was like, oh, he's busy. He's out with his friends. So then I went home and I got bored and I opened Instagram. Well, I see that he's at a party with Sky and they didn't even invite me. So I asked him about it and he said, oh, it was her and her boyfriend's party. So I was like, that wasn't really an excuse for why you didn't invite me. So he apologized and I forgave him. Well, 5 weeks later, I found out that him and her did the nasty and she got pregnant. And then there was a rumor going around that they made out in the bathroom. So I blocked both of them and never saw them again.
Story time about the guy who pretended to be transgender to get into the girl's bathroom. So we're going to go ahead and call him Danny. And at the time, I knew of Danny, but I didn't really know him. We weren't friends or nothing like that. Danny was known as the gay guy. He would always have his makeup done, and he would hang out with some of the girls. Everything was fine and cool until we entered our junior year, and Danny came out as transgender. He started wearing wigs and dressing more feminine-like. Now, when he would get dressed up, he would look completely different than what he looked like as his, born male self. You would think that he was a different person when he would get dressed up. Well, one particular day, he didn't get dressed up and he entered the girls' bathroom. When he did that, all of a sudden, it was a big group of girls running out of the bathroom screaming. If you guys want to know why they ran out, come back for part 2. This is part 2 of the guy that pretended to be transgender to get into the girls' bathroom. So, like I said before, junior year was the year Danny came out as transgender. Some days he'd get dressed up, some days he didn't. When he entered the girls' bathroom, a group of girls ran out of the bathroom screaming. I think maybe a couple hours later, after lunch, Danny was called to the office, and rumors went around about Danny trying to look through the girls' stalls. One girl claimed that he was peeking through the stall to look at one of her friends, and Danny was suspended. I think 2 weeks later, Danny came back to school, and she completely stopped wearing feminine-type outfits. That same week, me and my friend Kenneth were walking past the boys' bathroom, and we heard a lot of fumbling going on. I told him to go check what was going on. When he checked, there was a group of guys in the bathroom jumping Danny. I'm running out of time. Come back for part 3. Part 3 of the guy that pretended to be transgender to get into the girls' bathroom. So, like I said earlier, Danny was in the bathroom and he was getting jumped by a group of guys. After it was over, he walked out last and he walked over to his locker. So I followed him to see if he was okay, and he had a black eye and his lip was busted. I asked him if he wanted me to walk him to the nurse and why did they even jump him. Danny replied, the guy said I'm not allowed into their bathrooms anymore. He said anytime he ever entered there, he'd get bullied or teased for being gay. Then I asked him, I thought you were transgender. He said that because he didn't want to go into the guys' bathrooms anymore. I said, what about the incident about you peeking through the girls' stalls? He said, I never looked through any other girl's stall. I was just seeing to see who was in the bathroom so I could go in. He said, I'm gay, I don't even like girls, and it wasn't my intentions to make anyone uncomfortable. There was a girl named Jessica Phillips that went missing in my high school. She went missing in the middle of our junior year. When her parents came out about it, the school put posters up everywhere, alerts on the news. 2 weeks later, they decorated her locker. Ever so often, I see her closest friend weeping during class, and the teachers would excuse them out. The devotion of love she was getting after she went missing was outstanding. But the thing is, no one liked Jessica. Actually, everyone hated her. Don't get me wrong, she was the most popular girl in school, but she was an asshole. She was very nasty and rude and did anything to get what she wanted. I heard she once gave this boy Ronnie peanuts for not doing her homework anymore. He wanted to get into sports and didn't have time for it, and he was allergic to peanuts. The girl was practically a bully. Her friends were all followers that secretly hated her but wanted to be her. But it's crazy to see them all crying over her whereabouts when they all wanted her gone. But I know why she went missing. Come back for part 2. Jessica going missing didn't faze me. Actually, the days felt lighter when she wasn't there. Yeah, she was the talk of the town for weeks, but I'd rather that than to actually see her. And I know some might say I'm heartless, but Jessica did it to herself. So the night of Nicole's birthday party is when it all started. Nicole and Jessica were like frenemies. I mean, they were friends, but they were always in competition with each other. I'd say Nicole was the second popular girl in school. She was the first, but she dropped to second because she lost her boyfriend Luke to Jessica. He cheated on her with Jessica. I can say that's when the war started. Anyways, the night of Nicole's party, Jessica wasn't invited. I remember overhearing her during lunch that she was going to plan to crash and ruin Nicole's party. Pretty devious if you ask me. So the night comes and I go to Nicole's party. An hour goes by and I take a step outside of the side of the house to get some fresh air. I see Jessica creeping from the back. I say, Jessica, is that you? She looks at me and before I know it, someone grabs her face and pulls her into the bushes. So the night Jessica went missing, I saw exactly what happened. She tried to sneak into Nicole's party, but she actually didn't get in. Not only because she wasn't invited, but she had got pulled into the bushes. When I ran to see where she was pulled, she was dragged by 2 guys into the streets. I was in shock and I stood there for a few seconds, but those few seconds, Jessica saw me. She screamed for me to help her, but I just stood there. They threw her into a car and drove off. I went back to the party as though nothing happened. After the party was over, I went back home and I kept replaying what happened over and over. Then that next Wednesday is when everyone started hearing about Jessica going missing. They said if anyone ever saw anything to come forward, but I decided not to. There were moments throughout the week where I felt like I should say something, but there were times that I felt like it was too late. I thought maybe she was dead by now and it'd be pointless for me to come out now. But everything changed when I got a message from a block number saying, why didn't you save me? Storytime on how I found out my friend was homeless, and at the time we were both 11, and let's call her Aaliyah because I don't want to expose her real identity. Me and Aaliyah were really close. She always wanted to come over my house. My family liked her around because she was like another daughter. My mom loved the fact that she ate her cooking, and also I was the only girl. I had 3 other siblings that were all boys, so Aaliyah was basically my sister. Anytime I'd go outside, Aaliyah was always outside, so always had someone to play with. But one thing I will say is that she smelled funky, but I ignored it because she was a really nice person. Anyways, my birthday came up and I wanted to have a sleepover. My mom said she needed to talk to everyone's parents to make sure if they were allowed to sleep over. My mom talked to everyone's mom besides Aaliyah. I asked Aaliyah if her mom could speak to my mom, but she said she didn't need permission to sleep over. I was like, you're lying. Where do you live? And she's like, never mind. I probably can't. I'm going to just go home. I was like, go home? And she was like, yes, I gotta go. When she left, I secretly followed her home. She walked for about 20 minutes until she came to a stop and went into a tent by a tree. I'll be back with the next part in part 2. Part 2 on how I found out my friend was homeless, and at the time we were both 11. So like I said earlier, I followed her home for about 20 minutes until she came to a stop and went into a tent by a tree. I was so confused because she told me she was going home. Why lie? So I went closer to the tent and shook it and then went around to open it. When I opened it, she had canned food piled in the corner with a blanket down the bottom. She had a lot of things packed into her little old tent. I asked, what's going on? Are you going camping? She looked down and said, this is where I live. I was like, how does your family live in here? And she cried and explained that it was just her. Come to find out, she was a foster, but she ran away from home because her foster mom would bring in strange men around her and the rest of the girls that lived in the house with her. I'm not going into full details about what happened because I don't want to put too much of her business out there, but she was touched. It took a couple days for her to come out and tell me about it. She begged me not to tell anyone where she lives because she didn't want to get sent back, but I didn't feel right knowing that she lived in that tent. Come back for part 3. Part 3 on how I found out my friend was homeless, and at the time we were both 11, so I found out she was living in a tent due to her not liking the treatment she was getting by her foster parent. She told me not to tell anyone where she lived because she didn't want to go back, but I didn't feel okay knowing that she lived in that tent. So a week later, I went and told my mom everything she told me, and I was hoping she could help. I suggested to my mom maybe we could adopt her, but my mom wasn't too fond of the idea, so she called this hotline. I forgot the name, but they supposedly helped with stuff like this. She told them everything I told her, and I also spoke to them myself. Then maybe the next morning, they came into my house and they wanted me to direct where Aaliyah was living. They found her and took her in. I was so happy that she was going to get the help she needed, but 2 months later, I didn't see nor hear from her. I asked my mom if she could call the hotline people, but she said she would, but she never did. Then maybe 2 to 3 weeks later, I see Aaliyah outside and I get excited and run to her, and when I get closer, she had a black eye. I was like, what happened? And she said, you, and walked away. After that day, I never saw her again. When I was younger, I grew up with a cut on my face. It went down from my cheekbone all the way down to my neck. It was very long, the longest cut anyone has ever seen. When I was in school, teachers and students would ask, how did I get that cut, or if it still hurt? I would tell them it didn't hurt, but I didn't know where the cut came from. My mom actually told me I was born with it. Some teachers would say, that doesn't look like a cut you were born with. I think when I got a little older to understand, I asked my mom again, how did I get this cut on my face? She'd say, as usual, you were born with it. But I don't know, I just had a feeling there was something she wasn't telling me. If I could, I asked my dad, but my mom told me that he passed away a couple weeks after I was born. When I turned 18, I finally went to the dermatologist to see what was up with this cut. They told me the cut looked as though someone cut me with a sharp object. Later that week, I went to my aunt's house and told her about my dermatologist visit. She broke down in tears and started apologizing. Come back for part 2. So after going to the dermatologist about the cut I had on my face my entire life, I went to my aunt about it and she broke down and cried. She apologized and told me that I needed to speak to my mom. She said she thought it would be best if she told me. So I went home a bit confused and I talked to my mom. I told her the dermatologist told me the cut on my face wasn't from something I was born with. My mom looked at me and said, I never told you because I didn't want you to feel bad about this family, your father, but when you were 3 weeks old, your dad did this to you. I said, what? What do you mean? He did this to me? Why? She replied, your dad was really sick. I cried and asked, why would he do this? She looked at me and said that he tried to get rid of you. We couldn't afford to take care of you. But I pushed him off of you before he could have did anything. She said my aunt had called the police. My mom and dad were fighting and they shot him and he died that day. I was once working at a fast food restaurant. Working there stopped me from eating from this place ever again. It's everyone's favorite spot to get burgers and fries, and it seems like no matter what people tell you, people still continue to eat because how cheap it is. But let's start with the customers. Always be nice to your servers, because I had a couple of coworkers that would take the burger meat, rub it onto the floor, and serve it to the customers that came off rude. The restaurant had mice, and if they found something, they got to it. There was a particular day where I accidentally left out the burger buns, and the mice, of course, got to them. On my way to toss them into the trash, my manager stops me and says, we're low on stock for the burger buns. We need to keep those. And they were served to multiple families. There's way more dangerous things that went down, but if you guys want me to disclose everyone's favorite restaurant, let me know down below if I should make a part. Part 2 of the most disgusting fast food restaurant I've ever worked for. And here's a couple of things I think you should know. The hiring process is super easy. You literally just gotta be 16. Okay, so back to the food. When it came to preparing food, the guys in the back that will prepare the food would never change their gloves. They would go from touching doors, cleaning things, to back to preparing food again. I'm pretty sure most of the food they made was contaminated. Our manager was the worst. She loved the food they had and sometimes would pick up a batch of fries with her bare hands and would just eat as she worked. Half the time when she got done with counting money, she wouldn't wash her hands neither. And y'all know how dirty money is. Now exposing the restaurant. I said if you guys comment down below, I might just tell you guys what fast food restaurant it was. But if this TikTok blows up, I do not want to get sued. Just know they make burger fries and they're the most popular fast food restaurant in the world. Story time of how my toxic ex-best friend got me jumped. By the way, we're calling her Alexis. So me and Alexis have been friends since we were babies. Our moms were best friends and they sent us to the same school, had the same friends and everything. But the thing with Alexis is that she was super jealous and insecure. Whenever I did anything without her, she'd get very controlling. We got to high school, we started to drift apart, and I made new friends. But like after school, she'd always tell me that she didn't like my friends and that I'd be better off finding prettier friends. I would tell her, yeah, they might not be the most prettiest, but I like them. One day when I go to school, all of my friends are ignoring me and are giving me dirty looks. When I go to lunch, one of the most annoying boys walks up to me and tells me there's a rumor going around saying I was talking mad crazy about my friends and that they were planning on jumping me after school. If you want to know what happened after that, let me know down below. This is part 2 of how my toxic ex-best friend got me jumped. So, like I said before, this kid comes up to me telling me there's a rumor going around saying I was talking mad crazy about my friends and that they were planning on jumping me after school. And in my head, I'm like, so that's why nobody's talking to me? So I went to my best friend at the time, which started the whole mess, and I didn't know. I asked her if she heard anything about this going around, about them wanting to jump me after school. She laughs at me and says I should have kept my mouth shut. I get completely irritated because it's like now I don't have her support. After school comes and everybody quickly runs outside. Me, I'm stalling. I'm very slow at my locker. When I come outside, all of my friends are lined up and everyone gathered to see what was about to go down. I'm running out of time. Y'all let me know down below in the comments if y'all want a part 3. This is part 3 from my toxic ex-best friend got me jumped. So like I said, I walk outside and everyone is gathered around. I walk up to one of them saying all the rumors that they heard aren't true. One of my friends said, you know what you said, and pulled into my hair. And at that moment, I tried to swing back, but I just get jumped on. And they literally jumped me. After the whole thing was over, my best friend Alexis helped me. We went to her house and she cleaned me up and said that those girls were fake and that I should have listened to her earlier about not being friends with them. And I was confused on why she was helping me because she laughed in my face when I asked about it. But I left it alone because at least she was helping me and maybe she was right. Fast forward 2 weeks later, one of my friends who jumped me reached out to me apologizing. I asked her why and who even told you I was talking badly about you. Guys, believe it or not, after I get done speaking with her, I found out that my best friend Alexis lied and told them I was talking badly about them, and the girl even sent fake screenshots of messages between me and her. Story time of how I got caught cheating on my boyfriend with his brother. So me and my boyfriend at the time were on and off. Our relationship was really toxic and I was tired of the whole relationship. And everything started to go downhill when he cheated on me and I took him back. I know, stupid, but I really wanted us to work, so I stayed with him. But throughout the relationship, I was very insecure. I constantly thought he was cheating on me, so I started talking to other guys. One of them being his brother. And his brother was the biggest player of them all, but I didn't care as long as I wasn't stressed about what my boyfriend was doing. So one day after school, I met up with his brother at his house and we got it on. I thought that day he had football practice, but no, he came straight home and walked in on us. If y'all want to know what happened after that, let me know down below in the comments. This is part 2 of how I got caught cheating on my boyfriend with his brother. So, like I said earlier, I go to their house to go see his brother, and we got it on. And that day, I really thought he had football practice. But no, he came straight home and walked in on us. When he came in, he grabbed the covers off of us, and he literally starts fighting his brother. Then comes over to me and drags me into the hallway, throws all my clothes at me, calling me all types of names and telling me to get the hell out. He then ran and stormed out of the house. And to be honest, the whole time I wasn't even mad. I was glad he caught me cheating on him. Finally gave him a taste of his own medicine.
One day, I got my period during school, so I had to go to the bathroom during class. I make it to the bathroom, and then I see this girl that I've never seen before. She was just looking at herself in the mirror, and I've never seen her. She looked really pale and like a ghost bitch, basically. That's it. And at first I was like, okay, whatever, like maybe she just, you know, needs some sun. But then I decided, why don't I go say hi to her? Like maybe we can be friends. And then I tap her on the shoulder and I'm like, hi. Next thing I know, after I said hi to this random girl I've never seen, I'm on the floor with the school nurse. And then I get up and I was like, what happened? And then the school nurse tells me that I fainted. The school nurse then proceeds to ask me, like, what happened? Why did you faint? Like, were you feeling weird? Is that why you went to the bathroom? And I told her, no, like, I came to the bathroom because I got my period, but I said hi to this random girl, and that's all I remember. And we decided to take it further to my principal because they were like, what if this girl, like, punched her or something? Long story short, we found out that this girl that I saw does not go to the school. She doesn't exist. We looked through all the yearbooks. No one looked like the girl that I saw. So my principal ended up telling me, I think you need a break, you need to disconnect, you need to go on vacation because you're going crazy. Basically, it does not end here. So I was looking for something that would make me relax or whatever. And then I found Breakaway Beach. This is the best part. It's basically one of the largest travel student companies in North America. They're taking thousands of travelers annually across the world. Their goal is to provide an amazing senior trip for seniors. So if you're graduating high school next year, class of 2022, I recommend Breakaway Beach. It saved my life. So let's...
One time I went to this summer camp. Each time before bed, which was like 12, our chaperone would come in to check like if we're sleeping. One night, my friends and I were blasting music and, you know, dancing. So Act Up came up, you know, like City Girls. So, you know, I started twerking, throwing it back innocently. Innocent, I don't have an ass. So then I remember seeing like a flashlight spotlight go on me and I was like, throw the dollar bills, but. And all of a sudden the music stops. So I was like, oh, they're probably gonna change it to like some cumbia, you know what, a Latina. No, that's no cumbia, no.
I turn with my ass stuck out so I look like the letter C.
So I turn around and it's my friend's dad. He was our chaperone, so he had to tuck us in. And we were just staring at each other in the eyes. So do I look away? So when I turned 13, I had a birthday party. It's no big deal. I mean, you know, I was just blossoming, turning into a woman. And so I remember my mom was like, no one's allowed in the rooms. Everyone needs to be outside. If you see anyone inside, you need to tell me. I was like, oh my God, Booma, you don't need to pop off. I get it, Booma, come on. I remember I saw 3 adults walk out of my room. I didn't tell my mom, but let me tell you why. Because I was like, maybe they're designing a gift for me. So the end of the day came, no surprise present came. I'm not mad. Are you mad? Because I'm happy. So we started cleaning up and then we went to go clean my room in case. Oh, the best part is coming! There was a voodoo doll under my bed. You know, it looked exactly like me. I remember there was one needle on its left eye, another needle on its heart, and it was laying on like a ratchet green leaf. And then next to it, there was a note that said, this is all gonna be mine in cursive. So then my mom started doing research on this. After we found the voodoo doll, my mom did some research and we found out that someone was basically trying to do evil to me and harm me. Like, you know, I appreciate you counting me in. I personally, I don't want to be voodooed, but thank you. Thankfully though, we had some cameras in the house, so we were about to see who was behind this. This is the best part. We checked the cameras and the 3 people that I saw walk out of my room, you know, they were strangers. My parents didn't invite them, they didn't know them. So what my dad did was he screenshotted the footage and then he posted it on Facebook and he was like, does anyone know who this is? So we ended up finding them, contacting them, whatever. And we found out they work for this company that does witch stuff. And you know, someone was paying them to do all of this witchery stuff on me. No, I'm fine. What about you? So we asked them, what is behind all of this? What magic are you trying to do? Who paid you?
After my dad contacted the witches basically told him that it's better to not talk about this on the phone.
They then told my dad that the only person they can release information to is me. Long story short, I had to meet the witches at an alley by myself.
By myself.
I pull up, I feel like a whole ass horse. I'm about to shit everywhere.
So then I come across the witches and I remember they were looking straight at the ground. And I remember I was like, hi. And they were like, we cannot look you in the eyes because then the curse is going to be ours. I remember I started asking them questions like, you know, just the usual. Like, why'd you make a voodoo doll of me? They told me that the whole point behind this was for me to eventually turn crazy and be lonely forever. Bitch, I'm already crazy and needy as Unfortunately, they said they couldn't tell me who was behind all of this. I remember they told me how to break the curse though. They told me to put the voodoo doll in a wooden box and set it on fire. And they gave me this like nasty hot green juice, but apparently it killed the curse.
When I was in 7th grade, my friend and I went to my brother's high school football game. We're gonna call her Shakira! So like halfway into the game, these two really hot guys walked up to us, bitch.
Dude, I remember they whispered and they were like, meet us under the bleachers in 10 minutes. Y'all are cute as fuck. Let's talk.
Of course we went. We're just like prepubescent. We're rebellious. I don't know what it's. Well, Shakira and I go to the bleachers and we see the two cute guys. I remember the guys were like, hey, like put these blindfolds on. We're gonna go somewhere. It's gonna be cute. So my dumbass put the blindfold on. I remember one of the guys were like, take off the mask real quick, hold up. So like, I take off the mask and straight ahead is my brother filming me. And he's like, this was a test. I'm gonna show mom and dad.
So there was this guy that I was talking to. We're gonna call him Ryan. One day Ryan texts me. He's like, my mom's out of town. I got the car. Like, I could go out. Do you want to go on a date?
Long story short, Ryan and I end up at the mall and we're just walking around. Out of nowhere, I hear this lady behind us like, Ryan! Hey, Ryan! I look at Ryan. At this point, homie Ryan is hanging by a fucking thread. The lady gets closer. Ryan's like, Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh my god, oh my god.
This is the best part. Ryan straight up points at me.
And he's like, she told me if I didn't bring her to the mall, she would take you away. So one day, this random guy added me on Snapchat.
I added him just because you really never know. It could be my soulmate or something. Like, you know.
We're gonna call him motherfucking Larry. So right when I added Larry, he sent me a snap. Oh, this is the best part. Just wait, sweetie. So it was a photo of a wall with pictures of me, baby pictures of me, even a picture of my cat with like tiny post-its all around it. And in the caption, he was like, I manifested you, you cannot leave anymore. I was kind of scared, so I blocked him. And I remember I left my grandma's house because I was just really scared to even be in my own house. And so the next morning of me staying at my grandma's house, we got mailed this like big box with like confetti in it. And there was this envelope, and I remember the envelope was like, hey, it's Larry. I told you cannot leave. And my family's number was there, our address was there, and a bottle of pepper spray. So after Larry sends me a box with not only a letter saying that I cannot leave him, the letter also has my family's numbers, my address. After receiving this lovely package, I mean, it's what else could you ask for? I decided to ask my grandma's neighbors, like, did you see anyone drop off this box? Anything. I'll take anything at this point. They all said no. So I was like, okay, you know what? Whatever. I'm just gonna sleep on it tonight. Maybe this Larry person just tweaked out a little bit. You know what happens to all of us? Whatever. Oh, I was so wrong. Okay, so guess what happened the next morning? We get a letter from Larry. So this time the letter's like, you cannot escape me. I will follow you everywhere. And so I was like, bet. So I know this guy who's really good at hacking people. I told him about my situation and he agreed to help me. Long story short, I unblocked Larry, sent him a snap with his full name, his number, everything. And I was like, so wanna follow me? I remember that time when my cousin literally got catfished. Dead ass, he thought he was meeting up with Madison Beer, but all we met up with was a grandma. I don't really know where the Madison Beer is, but okay. Ever since that little, monstrosity, scary situation,
I was so terrified to use apps to make online friends and meet people.
But I remember one day I woke up and I was like, fuck it. So I decided to try out the app Wink. Oh, this is the best part. This is the best part.
Every person that I've met on that app is legit. I literally have so many new FaceTime buddies and stuff.
Boredom from quarantine? Feeling lonely? No. We don't know her. Bye. So in middle school, not only was I pale as fuck, I also had a crush on this kid.
We're gonna call him Eduardo. So every lunch and brunch, he would always give me a big hug.
And every time he would hug me, I'd be like, get closer, kiss me already. Oh my god, ask me out. So one day, my nasty, stinky ass is coming back from getting my lunch. And then Eduardo comes and he hugs me. And then I swear to God, he whispers in my ear, do you want to go out? I was about to shit myself, but other than that, I looked at him and I was like, and then I ran away and then I consulted my friend and I was like, dude, Eduardo just asked me. He asked me out. I wasn't allowed today. But after talking to my friend, I was like, I'm gonna risk it all. So I told my friend to tell him that I'm ready to be his shawty. And you know what he says? He's like, ew, no, I never asked her out. You know, he was playing hard to get. I was like, oh, you don't need to play this act. Like, oh man. Ill you.